There are 307 million Americans, and 270 million of us have cell phones, spending an average of 12.5 hours on them each month, despite the ongoing anxiety about the effect on our bodies. So Dr. Mehmet Oz, host of The Dr. Oz Show, is joining us this morning with a list of do's and probably don'ts, and it's great to see you again.
Well, thank you very much.
Now, we think of this as radiation, but this isn't radiation that you're getting from your cell phone. It's something else, a radio frequency
wave. And so that they're not chest X-rays, and it's not a nuclear radiation fallout from a bomb. These are simple radio frequency waves. That stated, there has been some concern for a while that radio frequency waves could affect cells in the brain, especially if your skull is thin, for example, if you're a child. So if I can just show you a quick animation, I think we'll bring the science really clear. Most people think their cell phones just receive waves, but they don't. The cell phone has to send a wave out in order to find a cell tower near you. That is an important clue for us about simple things we might be able to do to prevent any changes if, in fact, any are occurring. And notice again, the waves go into your brain. They have to. That's how the device works.
But we are 20 years into the use of them with some intensity, and we have from the American Cancer Society a statement that in general, expert agencies agrees that most evidence does not point to cell phone use increasing the risk of tumors.
Yeah.
She says fast. And also an FDA statement. So far, studies have not shown any bad effects for anyone from cell phone RF. So the bottom line on the studies so far?
Well, until recently, I think those were pretty good encapsulations of what was found, which is that over the periods of time examined, 3 to 5 years of cell phone use, you weren't finding differences. But there have been some recent studies that have been alarming, where you follow people for longer periods of time. And Diane, remember that if you're going to look at something very subtle like radio frequency waves affecting brain cells, you have to study them over a decade. So guess what? Because of some of these studies, Britain, France, and Israel have now offered advisories cautioning us, not telling us not to use cell phones, but cautioning us to be smart.
Let's run through these precautions. Under the age of 14?
I think children ought to be texting if they can. Believe it or not, for the first time ever on national TV, we're endorsing texting. And if they are going to use cell phones, it's important for them to use them on a speakerphone mode or with a cordless headset.
Hold it away from you.
And here's why. If you even move the phone 4 inches from your head, instead of holding it plastered to the skull, 4 inches away, 1,000 times less effect of radio frequency waves. Big difference.
Can you hear me now? It's just fine. Headsets also, with the wires on them, are a good thing. But let me ask you about this. This surprised me. If the signal is poor, or if it's interrupted when you're driving, you're getting more of the radio frequency waves inside your head?
You are. And remember that animation that I showed? Part of the problem that we have is those waves have to boost up from your cell phone to find the tower. So if you're traveling in a car, the highest intensity of those waves is when the cell phone shifts from one tower to the next. If you're in an elevator, same thing. If you're going into a poor part of wherever you live, you would need to be very cautious about using a cell phone there.
And if it's interrupted and has to power back up?
Just hold it a little further from your head. These are, by the way, simple changes. I'm not getting rid of my cell phone, and I don't think you are either. These are things I think we can do as precautions.
Do you like those wireless earpieces? We see people walking around with like big earrings in their ear.
Well, here's an example. If you're using them like a piece of jewelry, no. And so these wireless pieces,
just don't wear it all the time.
Right. They actually do reduce the radiation effect, the radio frequency wave effect quite dramatically. But if you're wearing them all the time, then they're always being a receiver. They're always pulling waves towards you.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Oz. Again, check your local listing for The Dr. Oz Show.